I need 2 units of O-negative, stat. Dr. Maya Reeves barked, her hands working quickly to stop the bleeding from the massive neck wound. And somebody get me the attending, this patient's been exsanguinated. The ER at Seattle Memorial was used to trauma. Gunshots, car accidents, stabbings, Maya had seen it all in her 5 years as a trauma surgeon. But this was different. The bite marks on the young woman's throat weren't from any animal she'd encountered in medical school. They were too precise. Too clean. And arranged in a pattern that looked disturbingly deliberate. Dr. Reeves, her resident whispered urgently, her blood pressure is crashing. We're losing her. Not on my watch. Maya increased the pressure on the wound, but something was wrong. The blood loss was too severe, too fast. It was like the patient had been drained systematically. How much blood has she lost? Nearly 60%. It's like she was emptied. Maya's hand stilled for just a fraction of a second. She'd seen wounds like this before. 15 years ago, when she was 12 and found her parents in their bedroom, drained and dead with identical marks on their throats. The official report had called it a home invasion gone wrong. Maya had never believed that lie. Everybody out, a voice commanded from the doorway. Male, cold, absolute authority. Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Silver Moon Chronicles. If you're new here, welcome to your next favorite story. I create immersive audiobook experiences that'll have you laughing, crying, and completely obsessed. Today's tale is something special. We've got mystery, romance, hidden royalty, and a twist that's going to blow your mind. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now because this story is about to take you on the most incredible journey. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens when a soup kitchen volunteer discovers the mysterious homeless man she's been helping is actually the most powerful werewolf in existence. This is the story of Alara and Sebastian, a woman with a heart of gold and the werewolf king who's been hiding in plain sight, learning what his kingdom really needs. Let's dive in. Maya looked up, ready to tear into whoever had the audacity to interrupt her patient care. The words died in her throat. The man standing in her trauma bay was impossibly beautiful in a way that made her instincts scream danger. Tall, dark hair that seemed to absorb light, eyes like polished obsidian, and an aura of power that made the fluorescent lights flicker. He wore an expensive black suit that probably cost more than her car, and he moved with the fluid grace of a predator. But what made Maya's breath catch wasn't his appearance. It was the shadows that writhed around him, living darkness that no one else in the room seemed to see. I set out, the man repeated, and this time his voice carried something that made every person in the trauma bay except Maya immediately turn and walk toward the exit like puppets on strings. What the hell do you think you're doing? Maya demanded, keeping pressure on her patient's wound. This woman is dying. This woman was already dead before she arrived. The stranger moved closer, and Maya noticed the temperature in the room dropped with each step. You cannot save her. What you can do is forget you ever saw her and go on with your evening. Forget, are you insane? I'm a doctor. I don't just abandon patients because some suit walks in and, Maya stopped as the shadows around him suddenly surged forward, reaching toward her. The stranger's eyes widened in what might have been shock. Stop, he commanded, but the shadows ignored him, coiling around Maya's arms like curious serpents. Maya should have been terrified. Should have screamed. Instead, she looked down at the living darkness touching her skin and felt recognition. Like meeting something she'd known in a dream. What are you? She whispered. That's my question for you, the stranger said, and there was something dangerous in his voice now. Humans can't see the shadows. They certainly can't touch them. Well, clearly I can. Maya turned her attention back to her patient, even as the shadows continued to wrap around her arms. And I'm not leaving her to die just because you ordered me to. So either help me save her, or get out of my ER. For a long moment, the stranger just stared at her. Then he did something unexpected, he laughed. It was a dark, rusty sound, like something rarely used. You have no idea who I am, do you? Should I? Maya met his obsidian eyes directly. Because right now, you're just the guy preventing me from doing my job. Now move, or I'll have security remove you. The shadows around him writhed wildly, and the stranger's expression shifted from amused to something more intense. My shadows want to keep you. That has never happened before. Your shadows can get in line behind my student loans and my mortgage. Maya turned to the medical equipment. If you're not going to help, then. The patient flatlined. No. Maya started CPR, counting compressions, breathing for the woman who'd come in with those familiar bite marks. But she knew, had known from the moment she'd seen the wound pattern, that this was exactly like her parents'. Exactly like a death that couldn't be explained by medical science. The stranger's hand covered hers, stopping the compressions. His touch was ice cold. She's gone. She was gone before she arrived. The feeding was too complete. Feeding? Maya looked up at him, and in his eyes, she saw the confirmation of everything she'd suspected for 15 years. You're a vampire. You're actually a fucking vampire. Yes. He didn't deny it. Didn't try to manipulate her mind again. Just acknowledged the truth with that same cold authority. And whoever did this violated our most sacred law, no feeding to death within city limits. I'm here to clean up the mess and ensure no questions are asked. By erasing memories. Yes. Well, you can't erase mine. Maya pulled her hands away from his, ignoring how the shadows seemed to protest the separation. I've known about vampires since I was 12. Since one of your kind murdered my parents and drained them dry. Something flickered in the vampire's expression. Your parents were killed by a vampire? January 17, 2009. Seattle. Robert and Caroline Reeves. Maya's voice was steady despite the old pain. The report said home invasion. But I saw the marks. I saw what was left. And I've been seeing things ever since. Auras. Shadows. Whatever the hell these are. She gestured to the darkness still coiling around her arms. The vampire was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice had lost some of its cold edge. Robert and Caroline Reeves. I remember that case. It was a rogue vampire, newly turned, out of control. I hunted him down personally and ended him. You killed the vampire who murdered my parents? I enforced the laws of my city. Rogues who leave corpses with evidence are dealt with permanently. He studied her with those unnerving dark eyes. You're telling me you've been seeing supernatural auras since their death? That's not normal, even for the rare humans who have sight. Well, I'm not exactly normal. Maya began covering her patient's body with professional efficiency, despite the grief clawing at her throat. Another life she couldn't save. Another victim of the same thing that had taken her parents. Are you going to kill me now? Erase me? Whatever it is you do to inconvenient humans who know too much? I should. The vampire moved closer, and Maya noticed the shadows followed him like loyal pets. Humans who know about our existence are a liability. The law is clear. Then do it. Maya turned to face him fully, lifting her chin. But I'm warning you, I'm not going down easy. And I'm not afraid of your bite. The words hung in the air between them, and Maya watched as the vampire's carefully controlled expression cracked. His eyes flared with something primal, and the shadows around him exploded outward, filling the room, reaching for her with hungry intent. Don't, the vampire commanded his shadows, but they didn't listen. They wrapped around Maya completely, pulling her toward him until they stood inches apart. This is impossible. I've controlled the shadows for 800 years. They've never disobeyed me. Maybe they're smarter than you, Maya said, surprised by her own boldness. She should be terrified. Should be running. Instead, She felt drawn to this dangerous creature and his even more dangerous shadows. Or maybe there's something you don't understand about me. What's your name? The vampire's voice had dropped to something low and dangerous. Maya Reeves. And you are? Lucien Noir. Master of the Seattle Vampire Court. His hand lifted, almost touching her face before he stopped himself. And you, Dr. Reeves, are either the bravest or most foolish human I've encountered in 8 centuries. I prefer brave. Maya smiled, sharp and defiant. So what now, Lucien Noir? Are you going to kill the inconvenient human, or are we going to talk about why your shadows won't let me go? I don't know, Lucien admitted, and there was something almost vulnerable in that confession. The shadows have never wanted anyone before. Never claimed anyone except me. This is unprecedented. Maya offered. Dangerous. Lucien's eyes locked on hers. You should be afraid of me, Dr. Reeves. I am the thing your nightmares fear. The monster your parents died trying to escape. The darkness that should terrify you into submission. But I'm not afraid. Maya reached up and touched the shadows still coiling around her, feeling them purr like living cats under her hand. Maybe I should be. Maybe I'm crazy. But all I feel when I look at you is recognition. Like I've been waiting my whole life to meet the thing that scared everyone else away. Lucien's control shattered. He moved with vampire speed, pressing Maya back against the wall, his body caging hers. The shadows wrapped around them both, creating a cocoon of living darkness. You don't know what you're saying, he growled, his fangs visible now, sharp and deadly. I could drain you dry right here. Could make you forget this entire conversation. Could make you into my willing thrall with a single bite. Then why don't you? Maya challenged, her heart racing but her voice steady. Why are you trying to scare me instead of just doing it? Because, Lucien said, his face inches from hers, for the first time in 800 years, I want something I cannot simply take. And that terrifies me more than you could possibly understand. The moment stretched between them, vampire and human, predator and prey, master and the one woman who refused to be mastered. Maya could feel his cold breath on her skin, see the hunger in his eyes, sense the shadows begging him to claim her. Then don't take, Maya whispered. Ask. Lucien pulled back as if burned. The shadows reluctantly released her, returning to their master's side. I'm going to erase the memories of everyone who was in this room tonight. I'm going to remove all evidence of supernatural involvement. And you? And me? You're going to go home, Dr. Reeves. You're going to pretend this never happened. And you're going to pray we never meet again. Lucien's expression was cold again, controlled. But his shadows kept reaching toward her. Because if we do, I won't be responsible for what happens next. Is that a threat or a promise? Maya asked. Both. Lucien turned to leave, then stopped. The vampire who killed your parents suffered greatly before his final death. I made sure of that. It doesn't erase what you lost, but I wanted you to know, he paid. Then he was gone, moving too fast for human eyes to track. The shadows lingered for just a moment longer, caressing Maya's face like a farewell, before they too vanished into the darkness. Maya stood alone in the trauma bay with her dead patient and a mind full of impossible truths. Vampires were real. She could see supernatural auras. And the most dangerous predator in Seattle had just walked away from her instead of killing her. Because his shadows wanted to keep her. And God help her, she wanted to be kept. Maya knew Lucien Noir was following her before she even turned the corner to her apartment building. The shadows had been trailing her for 3 days now, silent, watchful, protective. You're not very subtle, she called out to the darkness pooling near the streetlight. If you're going to stalk me, at least have the courtesy to show yourself. The shadows rippled with what might have been amusement. Then Lucien materialized from the darkness itself, looking exactly as dangerously beautiful as he had in her 72 hours ago. I wasn't stalking, he said coolly. I was ensuring your safety. There's a difference. Right. Because the scary vampire master is so concerned about one mortal doctor. Maya crossed her arms, refusing to show how her pulse quickened at his presence. What do you really want, Lucien? To understand why I can't stop thinking about you. The admission seemed to cost him something. Why my shadows follow you without my command? Why for 3 nights, I've been unable to focus on court business because all I can think about is the human who told me she wasn't afraid of my bite. And have you figured it out? No. Lucien moved closer, and Maya noticed the shadows moved with him, reaching toward her like living things desperate for contact. You shouldn't be able to see them. Shouldn't be able to touch them. And you certainly shouldn't make them disobey 800 years of perfect control. Maybe your control wasn't as perfect as you thought, Maya suggested. Or maybe I'm just that special. You are. The words came out rougher than she'd expected. I've spent 3 days researching, consulting ancient texts, questioning the oldest vampires in my court. There's only one explanation for why the shadows respond to you the way they do. Which is? You're descended from shadow witches. An extinct bloodline that could command darkness itself. They were wiped out 500 years ago by vampire hunters who feared their power. Lucien's obsidian eyes studied her face. But apparently, one line survived. Hidden in plain sight, diluted enough to pass as human. Until the trauma of your parents' death awakened your latent abilities. Maya's mind reeled. I'm a witch? You're the last of a dead bloodline. Which makes you both incredibly valuable and incredibly dangerous to vampire politics. Lucien glanced around the empty street. We shouldn't discuss this here. May I come inside? I thought vampires needed an invitation. We do. I'm asking for one. Maya knew this was a terrible idea. Inviting a vampire into her home, especially one who'd already admitted he couldn't stop thinking about her. But curiosity and that dangerous attraction overrode common sense. Fine. Come in. But if your shadows wreck my furniture, you're buying me new stuff. The moment they crossed her threshold, the shadows exploded outward, exploring her apartment like excited puppies. They coiled around her bookshelves, slithered across her medical journals, pooled in the corners like living puddles of darkness. They've never done this, Lucien said, watching with a mixture of fascination and alarm. They're usually reserved, obedient. This is playful. They're kind of cute, actually. Maya reached out, and a tendril of shadow immediately wrapped around her wrist, purring with contentment. Do they have names? Names? They're manifestations of primordial darkness, not pets. Everything deserves a name. Maya studied the shadows coiling around her. What about Umbra? For the darkness? The shadows shivered with what felt like pleasure, and Lucien stared at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. You just named 800 years of bound darkness, Umbra, and they accepted it. He shook his head. Dr. Reeves, you are either going to revolutionize vampire society or destroy it. I haven't decided which yet. Why not both? Maya moved to her kitchen, hyper-aware of Lucien's presence in her small apartment. Coffee? Or do you only drink, blood? You can say it. Lucien followed her, his movements predatory grace. And no, I don't require coffee. But I'll accept the hospitality. As Maya prepared the coffee, she felt the shadows, Umbra, wrapping around her waist, her shoulders, her arms. Not threatening, just present. Wanting contact. They're drawn to your witch blood, Lucien explained, though his voice had an edge to it. Shadow witches could command darkness. The shadows recognize that potential in you, even if it's dormant. And you? What draws you to me? Maya turned to face him, coffee forgotten. Because I don't think it's just my dormant witch powers. Lucien was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was raw with honesty. I don't know. I've had 8 centuries to perfect my control, to master every desire, to ensure nothing and no one could make me lose composure. And then you stood in that trauma bay, told me you weren't afraid, and everything I thought I'd mastered came undone. He moved closer, until they stood inches apart. You make me want things I haven't wanted in centuries. Make me feel things I'd forgotten I could feel. And that terrifies me, because the last time I lost control, people died. What happened? Maya asked softly. I was newly turned. Didn't understand the bloodlust, the hunger, the shadows that came with my transformation. I killed 17 people in one night before my sire stopped me. Lucien's expression was haunted. I swore I would never lose control again. Spent 800 years building discipline, mastering every impulse. And you shatter all of that with a single defiant smile. Maybe you need to lose control, Maya said, surprised by her own boldness. Maybe perfect discipline isn't as good as you think it is. Or maybe losing control around you would be catastrophic for both of us. Lucien's hand lifted, almost touching her face before he stopped himself, again. I should leave. This was a mistake. Running away? Maya challenged. I thought you were the master of the city. The big bad vampire everyone fears. But you're afraid of one mortal woman? I'm not afraid of you, Dr. Reeves. I'm afraid of what I want to do to you. The air between them crackled with tension. The shadows coiled tighter around Maya, and she saw Lucien's eyes flash with something primal, hunger, desire, possession all mixed together. Then do it, Maya whispered. Stop being afraid and just. Lucien's control snapped. He moved with vampire speed, pressing her against the kitchen counter, his body caging hers. The shadows wrapped around them both, creating a cocoon of living darkness. You don't know what you're asking for, he growled, his fangs visible, his usual composure completely shattered. If I start, I won't want to stop. If I touch you, I'll want to claim you. If I bite you, then bite me. Maya's hand came up to cup his face, feeling the coldness of his skin. I'm not afraid of your bite, remember? Maya. Her name on his lips was a prayer and a curse. If I bite you, if I take your blood, the bond will form. You'll be mine in ways humans weren't meant to belong to vampires. The shadows will claim you completely. There's no going back from that. Good. Maya pulled him closer, reckless and fearless. Because I'm tired of going back. Tired of being safe and careful and alone. For 15 years, I've been waiting to feel alive again. And you and your shadows, you make me feel like I'm finally awake. Lucien's last shred of control evaporated. He kissed her with 800 years of denied hunger, and Maya kissed him back with 15 years of suppressed fear and longing. The shadows wound tighter, pulling them together, making it impossible to tell where one ended and the other began. When Lucien pulled back, his eyes were pure black, vampire fully ascendant. Last chance to say no, he rasped. Because if I bite you now, you're mine. Forever. Promises, promises, Maya said, tilting her head to expose her throat. Do it. His fangs pierced her skin with exquisite precision. The pain lasted only a second before it transformed into something else entirely, pleasure, connection, a bond forming between them that was deeper than blood, more powerful than magic. Maya gasped as she felt Lucien's consciousness touch hers. Felt his 800 years of loneliness, his desperate need for control, his terror of what he was feeling for her. And beneath it all, a hunger that went beyond blood, a hunger for connection, for understanding, for someone who could see the monster and choose him anyway. Through the bond, she felt the shadows, Umbra, claiming her as theirs. Marking her. Making her part of their existence in a way that was permanent and irreversible. When Lucien finally pulled away, sealing the bite wound with a touch of his tongue, they both stared at each other with the understanding that everything had changed. What have we done? Maya whispered, feeling the bond thrumming between them like a living thing. Created something that should be impossible, Lucien said, his hand coming up to touch the healed bite mark on her throat. A blood bond between vampire and shadow witch. The court is going to lose their minds when they find out. The court? Every vampire in Seattle answers to me. But I answer to the greater vampire society, laws that have existed for millennia. And one of those laws is very clear: vampires don't bond with mortals. We use them, feed from them, occasionally turn them. But we don't form permanent blood bonds with humans. Oops, Maya said, not sounding sorry at all. Despite the situation, Lucien laughed, that same rusty sound from their first meeting. You're going to cause so much chaos in my carefully ordered world. Looking forward to it. Maya touched the bond, marveling at how she could feel Lucien's emotions now, sense his presence. So what happens now? Now, I try to figure out how to keep you safe from the vampires who will see you as either a threat or a prize. How to navigate vampire politics with a mortal blood bonded to me. How to. He stopped as the shadows suddenly tensed, sensing danger. A moment later, Maya's apartment window exploded inward, and a female vampire landed in a crouch among the shattered glass. Lucien, the vampire purred, her eyes taking in the scene. Maya marked with a fresh bite, shadows coiled protectively around her, Lucien's obvious claim. How unexpected. The master of the city, bonded to a human. What would the court say? Elena. Lucien's voice went cold, the tender lover of moments ago replaced by the dangerous predator. You're trespassing. I was concerned when you missed the court gathering tonight. Again. Elena's smile was sharp, dangerous. 3 nights in a row, you've been distracted. Now I see why. A pet human. How quaint. She's not a pet, Lucien said, and the shadows around him darkened threateningly. And you will show her respect or face consequences. Elena's expression shifted to something harder. You bonded her. Actually bonded her. Lucien, that's against. I know what it's against. But it's done. Maya is under my protection now. Anyone who threatens her, threatens me. The court won't accept this. Elena moved closer, and Maya noticed her hands were positioned like she was ready to attack. You know the laws. Mortals are food, thralls, or candidates for turning. They're not mates. The council will demand you either turn her or kill her. Then the council can make their demands, and I'll make my response. Lucien positioned himself between Elena and Maya. Now leave. This is your only warning. Elena stared at him for a long moment, something like heartbreak flashing across her face before it hardened into rage. You're choosing her over 400 years of loyalty? Over the court? Over everything we've built? I'm choosing what's mine to choose, Lucien said quietly. Go, Elena. Before this becomes something neither of us can take back. The female vampire looked at Maya with pure hatred, then vanished back through the broken window with inhuman speed. Maya let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. So that went well. That was Elena, my second in command. And she's in love with me. Lucien turned to Maya, his expression serious. I never encouraged it, never returned those feelings. But seeing me bond with you, that's going to make her dangerous. Dangerous how? She has influence in the vampire court. She can turn others against us, make your life difficult. Or. Lucien's jaw tightened. She can go directly to the council and report this bond as a violation of our laws. And if she does? Then I'll be forced to make an impossible choice, you or my position as master. The city or the woman I've claimed. Lucien pulled Maya close, the shadows wrapping around them both. But I want you to know, I've already made my choice. The moment I bit you, I chose you over everything. Maya felt the truth of that through their bond, felt how much that admission cost him. We'll figure it out, she said, touching his face. Together. Together, Lucien agreed. But Maya? You need to understand what you've gotten yourself into. This bond, it's forever. The shadows have claimed you as mine. And in the vampire world, possession is everything. There will be challenges. Threats. Attempts to separate us or kill you. Bring it on, Maya said with that same defiant courage that had first captivated him. I'm not afraid, remember? You should be, Lucien whispered. Because Elena won't be the last vampire who sees you as a threat. And what's coming next is going to test both of us in ways we can't imagine. As if on cue, Maya's phone buzzed with a message from her colleague, Dr. James Chen, *, we need to talk. Now. I know what you are, and you're in more danger than you realize, *. Maya showed Lucien the message. James is a witch. He's been trying to warn me about supernatural politics for years. Then maybe it's time you listen to him, Lucien said grimly. Because the game has changed, Maya. You're not just a human anymore. You're a blood-bonded shadow witch claimed by a vampire master. And that makes you either the most powerful piece on the board. Or the most vulnerable target, Maya finished. Exactly. As Lucien held her close, both of them knowing the fragile piece of the last hour was about to shatter, the shadows coiled tighter, protective, possessive, and hungry for what came next. The obsession had begun. The bond was formed. And nothing would ever be simple again. Dr. James Chen's apartment was warded so heavily with protective magic that Maya felt the buzz of power the moment she stepped inside. Lucien followed close behind, the shadows, Umbra, coiled defensively around them both. A vampire master in my home, James said dryly, not bothering with pleasantries. Maya, when I said you needed to be careful around supernatural beings, I didn't mean bond yourself to the most powerful one in the city. It wasn't exactly planned, Maya defended. Blood bonds are always planned. They require intent, consent, and, James stopped, staring at the shadows moving around Maya like living pets. Wait. Those are shadow manifestations. Actual, sentient darkness. Maya, what exactly are you? Apparently the last surviving descendant of shadow witches, Maya said. Surprise? James went pale. Shadow witches. The line that was hunted to extinction 500 years ago because they could control vampires' darkness powers. Maya, do you have any idea what you are? Enlighten me, Maya said, sitting down on his couch while Umbra explored the apartment with curious interest. Shadow witches weren't just powerful, they were vampire kryptonite. They could command the darkness that vampires draw their power from, turn it against them, even sever a vampire's connection to their shadows entirely. James looked at Lucien. And you bonded with her knowing this? I bonded with her before I fully understood what she was, Lucien admitted. Though it wouldn't have changed my decision. Maya is mine, bloodline be damned. The possessiveness in his voice made Maya's heart race, the bond between them thrumming with his emotions. Well, you've painted a massive target on both your backs, James said grimly. The Vampire Council is already calling an emergency session. Word of your bond has spread through supernatural channels faster than I've ever seen. And Maya, there are factions who would kill to possess a shadow witch. Or kill you to prevent anyone else from having that power. Let them try, Lucien growled, shadows darkening around him. That's exactly what they're hoping you'll say. James pulled out an old leather-bound book. There's precedent for this. 600 years ago, a vampire lord bonded with a shadow witch. The council forced him to choose, kill her and maintain his position, or protect her and be declared rogue. He chose her. They hunted them both down and executed them as a warning. Maya felt Lucien's tension through the bond. What are you saying? I'm saying the council meeting tonight isn't just about vampire politics. It's a trial. They're going to force Lucien to choose between you and everything he's built over 8 centuries. James met Maya's eyes. And there's a strong chance they'll demand your death either way, just to eliminate the threat you represent. Then we run, Maya said. Leave Seattle, go somewhere they can't find us. There is nowhere they can't find us, Lucien said quietly. The Vampire Council has reach across the entire world. And if I run, I mark myself as rogue. Every vampire in existence would be honor-bound to hunt us. So what do? We attend the council meeting. We face this head-on. Lucien's hand found hers, cold but comforting. And we show them that what we have is stronger than their archaic laws. That's a suicide mission, James protested. Maybe. But I've spent 800 years following rules that were made to control, not protect. I'm done bowing to authority that doesn't deserve my obedience. Lucien looked at Maya, and through the bond, she felt his absolute conviction. If loving her makes me rogue, then I'll be the most dangerous rogue they've ever faced. Maya's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, * council session begins at midnight. Blackthorn Estate. Your presence is mandatory, Dr. Reeves. Come alone, or Lucien forfeits his position immediately. Elder Marcus *. They want me there, Maya said, showing Lucien the message. Alone. Absolutely not. Lucien's voice was steel. That's a trap. Or it's their way of meeting me before they make their decision. Maya stood, resolve hardening. I'm going. With or without you. Maya. I'm not afraid of your bite, remember? I'm not afraid of them either. She touched the bond between them. Besides, you'll be there anyway. Through this. I'll never really be alone. Lucien stared at her for a long moment, then pulled her into his arms. You're either the bravest woman I've ever met, or the most reckless. Both, Maya said, kissing him. Definitely both. That night, Maya arrived at Blackthorn Estate, a massive Gothic mansion on the outskirts of Seattle that screamed vampire headquarters. Umbra coiled around her nervously, sensing the danger, but she walked through the front doors with her head high. The council chamber was exactly what she expected, dark, imposing, filled with ancient vampires who looked at her like she was a fascinating insect they were about to dissect. Elder Marcus sat at the center, a vampire so old his skin had taken on a marble-like quality. Dr. Maya Reeves. The mortal who ensnared our master of Seattle with a blood bond. I didn't ensnare anyone, Maya said clearly. Lucien chose to bond with me. I chose to accept. Mutual consent, mutual desire. Mutual foolishness, another council member spat. Mortals are beneath us. They age, they die, they're weak. Bonding with one is an insult to our kind. Funny, I feel pretty strong right now, Maya said, and let Umbra manifest fully around her, living shadows responding to her will, proving she was far more than a simple mortal. The council chamber went silent. Shadow Witch, Elder Marcus breathed. The bloodline lives. This changes everything. Does it? Elena's voice cut through the tension. She stepped forward from where she'd been standing in the shadows. Or does it just make her more dangerous? Shadow witches nearly destroyed our kind 500 years ago. And now one has bonded with our most powerful master. What's to stop her from using that bond to control him? To control all of us? I'm not trying to control anyone, Maya protested. Not yet, Elena said coldly. But your bloodline's history speaks for itself. Shadow witches used their powers to enslave vampires, turn them into weapons, drain them of their darkness. That's why we hunted them to extinction. That's why you should have stayed extinct. Is that a threat? Maya asked, meeting Elena's hatred head-on. It's a fact. Elena turned to the council. I move that we invoke the law of severance. Force Lucien to break the bond and execute the Shadow Witch before she becomes a threat to our entire society. The law of severance requires the bonded vampire's consent, Elder Marcus said carefully. Lucien would have to agree to sever the bond himself. Then let's ask him. Elena smiled, sharp and cruel. Let's see if the great master of Seattle is willing to sacrifice everything for one mortal woman. Even one with witch blood. The chamber doors opened, and Lucien strode in, power radiating from him in waves, shadows darker and more threatening than Maya had ever seen them. "You summoned my mate without my permission," he said, voice deadly calm. "You threatened her. You invoked ancient laws meant to control, not protect. So yes, Elena. Let's ask. Let's see exactly what I'm willing to sacrifice." He moved to stand beside Maya, and Umbra immediately coiled around them both, his shadows and hers merging into something unprecedented. "The bond stays," Lucien declared. "Maya is mine, I am hers, and no council law will change that." "Then you forfeit your position as master," Elder Marcus said gravely. "And accept rogue status. You and your mate will be hunted by every vampire who upholds our laws." "So be it." "Lucien, no," Maya started, feeling his sacrifice through the bond. "Wait." A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. An ancient female vampire stepped forward, older even than Marcus. "I invoke the right of challenge." The council erupted in whispers. "Mother Celeste," Marcus said carefully. "The right of challenge hasn't been used in 3 centuries. Are you certain?" "I am." The ancient vampire studied Maya with eyes that had seen millennia. "The Shadow Witch bloodline was destroyed because we feared their power. But fear is not justice. If this woman can prove herself worthy, prove she's not a threat but an asset, then the bond should stand." "How would she prove that?" Elena demanded. "Trial by combat," Mother Celeste said simply. "Let her face a vampire champion. If she survives using only her Shadow Witch abilities, she proves she deserves a place among us. If she fails, well, the problem resolves itself." "Absolutely not," Lucien growled. "It's the only way," Mother Celeste said. "Unless you'd prefer we simply execute you both now and be done with it." Maya felt Lucien's rage and fear through the bond. Felt his desperate need to protect her warring with the logic of what was being offered. "I'll do it," Maya said clearly. "I accept the challenge." "Maya. I'm not letting you throw away 8 centuries of building this court because of me," she said through their bond. "And I'm not running. If they want proof I'm not a threat, I'll give it to them." "She accepts," Mother Celeste said, satisfaction in her ancient voice. "Elena, as the vampire who challenged the bond's validity, you have the right to name the champion. Choose wisely." Elena's smile was pure malice. "I choose myself. Let's see if the little witch can survive a real vampire." The council chamber transformed, furniture vanishing, a fighting arena materializing in the center. Maya stood on one side, Elena on the other, and every vampire in the room watched with predatory anticipation. "Rules are simple," Mother Celeste declared. "Fight until one submits or dies. Maya Reeves may use her Shadow Witch abilities. Elena may use her full vampire powers. Begin." Elena moved first, vampire speed making her nearly invisible. Maya barely dodged the strike aimed at her throat, stumbling backward. Through the bond, she felt Lucien's terror. Felt Umbra's desperate need to protect her. But she also felt something else, the dormant power in her blood, the Shadow Witch abilities her ancestors had wielded. "Come on," Elena taunted, circling her. "Show us what a Shadow Witch can do. Or are you all lineage and no power?" Maya closed her eyes, reaching for that power. Reached for Umbra, for the shadows that had claimed her as theirs. And for the first time, instead of just touching them, she commanded them. "Umbra," she said clearly. "Defend." The shadows exploded outward, creating a barrier between her and Elena. When the vampire tried to strike again, Umbra caught her, held her suspended in living darkness. Elena's eyes widened in shock. "Impossible. You can't control Lucien's shadows. The bond doesn't work that way." "It does when I'm a Shadow Witch," Maya said, confidence growing. "You wanted to see my power? Here it is." She commanded Umbra to release Elena, then to attack. The shadows obeyed perfectly, striking at the vampire with precision that came from Maya's surgical training. Each attack was calculated, controlled, devastating. Elena fought back with vampire ferocity, but against a shadow who could command the very darkness vampires drew power from, she was outmatched. "Submit," Maya commanded, Umbra pinning Elena to the ground. "Never," Elena spat. "I'd rather die than see you with him." "Then you're a fool." Maya released the shadows, stepping back. "I'm not here to kill you, Elena. I'm here to prove I'm not a threat. Consider it proven." She turned to the council, leaving Elena alive and furious on the ground. "I could have killed her. My ancestors probably would have. But I'm not them. I don't want to control vampires or destroy them. I just want to be with the one I love without your archaic laws tearing us apart." Mother Celeste smiled, ancient and knowing. "The trial is complete. Maya Reeves has proven herself worthy. The bond stands. Lucien Noir remains master of Seattle. And anyone who challenges this decision answers to me personally." The council murmured agreement. Even Elena, defeated and humiliated, had to bow to the elder vampire's authority. As the session ended and vampires began filing out, Lucien pulled Maya into his arms. "You could have been killed," he said roughly, emotions flooding through their bond, relief, pride, lingering fear. "But I wasn't. I'm stronger than you think." Maya touched his face. "We both are." "Maya Reeves," he said seriously. "You just commanded shadows that have been mine for 800 years. You defeated a 400-year-old vampire in single combat. You're not just strong. You're dangerous." "Good," Maya said, kissing him. "Maybe now people will stop underestimating the mortal who isn't afraid of your bite." But as they left Blackthorn Estate, neither of them noticed Elena watching from the shadows, her expression twisted with rage and something darker, a promise of vengeance. Because the council might have accepted the bond, but Elena never would. And a vampire scorned was far more dangerous than any ancient law. Like if Maya's shadow which powers gave you chills. And subscribe because the bond was just accepted by the council, but Elena's planning something dark, and Maya's about to discover that controlling shadows is just the beginning of her true power. 3 days after the trial, Maya woke to find her apartment covered in shadow marks, intricate patterns of darkness etched into every surface. Walls, ceiling, floor, even her medical textbooks. All marked with the same symbol, Lucien's claim, permanently branded into her space. "Umbra's getting territorial," Lucien said from where he stood by the window, watching the sunrise he could no longer enjoy. "They're marking everything that's yours as mine. Or perhaps everything that's mine as yours. The distinction is becoming unclear." Maya traced one of the shadow marks, feeling the power humming beneath it. "Is this normal for blood bonds?" "Nothing about our bond is normal." Lucien turned to face her, and Maya saw the strain in his expression. "The shadows are claiming you more deeply every day. Soon, they won't just respond to your commands, they'll be part of you. Inseparable. Permanent. You say that like it's a bad thing. It is if something happens to me. If I die, the shadows die with me. And now that they've claimed you." Lucien's jaw tightened. "You would die too. The bond has become that deep." Maya felt the truth of that through their connection. Their lives were literally intertwined now, dependent on each other in ways that went beyond emotional attachment. "Then we make sure nothing happens to either of us," Maya said firmly. "Simple. You say that like Elena isn't plotting our deaths as we speak." As if summoned by her name, Maya's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, *, he'll never truly be yours. Meet me at Pike Place Market, noon. Come alone, or I'll start killing humans until you do. *. She's threatening civilians now? Maya showed Lucien the message. That's low, even for a scorned vampire. She's desperate. Humiliated. Dangerous. Lucien's shadows darkened with rage. I should have ended her when I had the chance. Or I should have, when I beat her in the trial. Maya grabbed her jacket. I'm going. If she wants to talk, let's talk. Not alone, you're not. She'll run if she sees you. Or worse, she'll actually hurt someone. Maya touched the bond between them. I can handle Elena. And if I can't, you'll feel it through this and come running. Right? Lucien pulled her close, kissing her with 800 years of possessive hunger. The moment I sense danger, I'm there. Bond or no bond, nothing will keep me from protecting what's mine. Pike Place Market at noon was crowded with tourists and locals, the perfect place for a vampire to blend in, or to cause chaos. Maya found Elena standing near the fish market, looking perfectly human in designer sunglasses and a leather jacket. You came, Elena said, not bothering with pleasantries. Brave. Or stupid. Both, apparently. That's my brand. Maya crossed her arms. What do you want, Elena? Besides the obvious, stop existing so Lucien will love me request. I want you to understand what you've done. Elena's voice was tight with controlled fury. Lucien has led the Seattle court for 2 centuries. Built it into the most powerful vampire territory on the West Coast. And in 3 weeks, you've destabilized everything. The other masters are circling like sharks, sensing weakness. Vampire politics are a razor's edge, and you've pushed us right to the precipice. Because I bonded with him? Because you made him choose you over the court. Over his responsibilities. Over 800 years of discipline and control. Elena stepped closer. He's losing himself to this bond. To you. And when he falls, the entire supernatural balance in this city collapses with him. Or maybe he's finally allowing himself to feel something other than duty and isolation. Maya held her ground. You've been in love with him for 400 years, Elena. Did you ever once see him happy? Truly happy? Or just controlled, disciplined, perfect? Elena flinched. Happiness is a luxury vampires can't afford. We survive on control. On discipline. On being so afraid to feel anything that you call it strength? Maya shook her head. That's not living. That's just existing. And I refuse to let Lucien spend another 800 years just existing when he could be actually alive. Pretty words from a mortal who'll be dead in 60 years while he continues on forever. Elena's smile was cruel. Have you thought about that? How he'll watch you age, wither, die. How he'll spend eternity mourning the brief flash of warmth you brought to his endless night. Maya had thought about it. Every day. Every time she looked at Lucien's ageless face and felt her own mortality like a weight. Then I'll turn, Maya said. Become vampire. Spend eternity with him. You can't. Shadow witches don't survive the turning. Your magic conflicts with vampire venom, it's why your bloodline was so dangerous to us. Turn a shadow witch, and you get a corpse, not a vampire. Elena's expression was almost pitying. Didn't Lucien tell you? Your relationship has an expiration date, Dr. Reeves. And there's nothing either of you can do about it. The revelation hit Maya like a physical blow. Through the bond, she felt Lucien's sudden surge of panic. He'd been listening through their connection, and now his secret was exposed. He knew, Maya whispered. He knew I couldn't be turned, and he bonded with me anyway. Because he's selfish. Because for once, he wanted something for himself, damn the consequences. Elena leaned closer. So here's my offer, leave him. Break the bond. Let him have a chance at finding someone he can actually spend eternity with, instead of a few pathetic decades with you. And if I refuse? Then I'll make sure those decades are as painful as possible. For both of you. Elena's fangs flashed. Starting now. She moved with vampire speed, but not toward Maya, toward a family of tourists nearby. Her intention was clear, cause a massacre, force Maya to watch innocents die because of her refusal. Maya's shadow which instincts exploded. Umbra. The shadows responded instantly, pulling Elena away from the humans, wrapping around her like chains. But this time, something different happened. Maya felt Umbra's hunger, their desire not just to restrain but to consume. Stop. Elena gasped, her vampire strength no match for living darkness commanded by a shadow witch. You're killing me. Good, Maya snarled, surprised at her own viciousness. The shadows tightened, feeding on Elena's vampire essence, draining her the way vampires drained blood. Through the bond, she felt Lucien's alarm. Maya, stop. If you kill her this way, you'll absorb her vampire nature. It could destroy you. She was going to kill innocent people. I know. But this isn't you. Don't let rage make you into the monster she thinks you are. Maya struggled with herself, with Umbra's hunger, with her own fury. Then, with massive effort, she pulled the shadows back. Elena collapsed, weakened but alive. Go, Maya commanded. Leave Seattle. If I see you again, I won't stop Umbra next time. Elena staggered to her feet, genuine fear in her eyes for the first time. You're more dangerous than any shadow witch in history. You don't just command darkness, you feed it. Nurture it. Make it love you. She laughed bitterly. Lucien bonded with a monster and didn't even realize it. Then she was gone, vampire speed carrying her away before Maya could respond. Lucien materialized beside Maya, pulling her into his arms. Are you alright? You knew, Maya said, pushing back to look at him. You knew I couldn't be turned. That we only have decades together, not eternity. And you bonded with me anyway. Yes. Lucien's expression was raw with emotion. I knew. And I'm sorry I didn't tell you. But Maya, I've had 800 years of eternity. 800 years of empty, lonely existence where nothing truly mattered. I would trade all of it for 60 years of actually feeling alive with you. 60 years and then you watch me die, Maya whispered. 60 years of loving you. Of being loved by you. Of finally understanding what it means to live instead of just exist. Lucien cupped her face. Every moment with you is worth a century of immortality without you. Maya felt the absolute truth of that through their bond, felt how much she meant to him, how he'd rather have brief happiness than eternal emptiness. There has to be another way, she said. Some way to turn me without killing me. Some way to. If there is, we'll find it. But even if we don't. Lucien kissed her. I choose you. For however long we have. 60 years or 600. It doesn't matter. You're mine, and I'm yours, and nothing will change that. The bond between them flared with confirmation, with love and possession and desperate need all tangled together. But their moment was shattered by James Chen's panicked call. Maya. The hospital, there's been an attack. Multiple vampire bites, dozens of victims. It's not random. Someone's sending a message. Elena, Maya breathed. No. Lucien's expression went deadly cold. Elena runs in fear. This is coordinated, deliberate. Someone else is making a move. They rushed to Seattle Memorial, where chaos reigned. Victims everywhere, all with identical bite marks. But these weren't feeding marks, they were messages, carved into flesh with vampire precision. On one victim's arm, the witch dies. On another's throat, or the city bleeds. It's a challenge, Lucien said grimly. Someone's challenging my authority. Using your existence as justification to question my leadership. Who? Maya demanded. Other masters from rival territories. They've been waiting for weakness. Elena's humiliation at the trial, our bond causing controversy, they see an opportunity to take Seattle from me. Lucien's shadows darkened with rage. And they're using you as the excuse. So what do? We show them that taking Seattle means going through both of us. Lucien took her hand. Maya Reeves, would you stand with me against every vampire who thinks I've gone soft? Every master who sees our bond as weakness rather than strength? I already beat Elena in the trial. Bring on the rest. Maya smiled, fierce and fearless. I'm not afraid of your bite. I'm not afraid of their fangs either. That's what I love about you. Lucien pulled her close, the shadows wrapping around them both possessively. You face monsters and see challenges instead of threats. Well, I am dating the biggest monster of all, Maya teased. Kind of raises the bar for what scares me. But as they prepared for the coming conflict, as Umbra marked everything in sight with territorial fury, neither of them noticed the figure watching from the hospital's roof. A vampire older than Lucien. More powerful. More dangerous. And he'd come to Seattle with one purpose: claim the Shadow Witch for himself, eliminate Lucien as competition, and rebuild the Shadow Witch bloodline under his control. The claiming had begun. But so had the war. And Maya was about to discover that being the last Shadow Witch made her the most valuable prize in the entire supernatural world. The ancient vampire revealed himself at midnight, walking into Lucien's court with the confidence of someone who'd seen empires rise and fall. Victor, Lucien said, his voice flat with recognition. I should have known you'd come. Victor was everything Lucien wasn't. Where Lucien was dark and controlled, Victor radiated raw, primal power. His age showed not in weakness but in the way reality itself seemed to bend around him. He was over 2,000 years old, one of the first vampires ever created. And his eyes locked on Maya with the hunger of a collector spotting a priceless artifact. Lucien Noir. Still playing at being master after all these centuries. Victor's smile was cruel. I heard rumors about a Shadow Witch. Came to see if they were true. And here she is, the last of a bloodline I personally helped exterminate 500 years ago. Maya felt Umbra coil defensively around her. Through the bond, Lucien's rage was a living thing. You helped kill the Shadow Witches? Maya asked, keeping her voice steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. I led the purge, Victor said proudly. They were too dangerous. Too powerful. Could turn our own shadows against us, drain our essence, control us like puppets. We couldn't allow such a threat to exist. Then why are you here? To finish the job? To claim you? Victor moved closer, and even Lucien's shadows recoiled from him. You're wasted on Lucien. A bond with a mere 800-year-old vampire? Please. I can offer you real power. Real immortality. I've spent 2,000 years mastering ways to turn the impossible. I can make you vampire without killing your witch nature. Maya's heart stopped. That's impossible. Shadow Witch magic conflicts with vampire venom. For normal vampires, yes. But I am the oldest living vampire on this continent. My venom is different. More powerful. Capable of overriding magical resistance. Victor's smile widened. Break your bond with Lucien. Come with me. Become my mate, and I'll give you what he never could, eternity. Absolutely not, Lucien growled, moving between them. Maya is mine. She stays mine. Is she? Or does she simply have no other option? Victor addressed Maya directly, ignoring Lucien. He bonded you knowing you'd die in decades. Knowing he'd watch you age and wither while he remained unchanged. Is that love? Or is that selfishness? Through the bond, Maya felt Lucien's pain at the accusation. Felt his guilt and fear that Victor was right. He gave me choice, Maya said clearly. Something you wouldn't understand. You're offering power, but you're demanding possession. Lucien offered me freedom. Freedom to die. Victor's expression hardened. I'm giving you one chance, Shadow Witch. Come willingly, or I'll take you by force. And everyone in this city who stands in my way will die. Then you'll have to kill me first, Lucien said, shadows erupting around him with deadly intent. That can be arranged. Victor's power exploded outward, ancient and overwhelming. I challenge you for the Shadow Witch. Traditional vampire law, combat to the final death. Winner takes the prize. She's not a prize. Maya protested. In our world, she is, Victor said coldly. The last Shadow Witch. Capable of commanding darkness itself. Worth more than entire vampire territories. Lucien knows this. Why do you think he bonded you so quickly? To claim you before others realized what you were. Maya looked at Lucien, and through the bond, she felt the complicated truth. Yes, he'd bonded her partly to protect her from others who would want to possess her power. But beneath that was genuine love, genuine desire, genuine choice. I accept the challenge, Lucien said. But when I win, you leave Seattle and never threaten Maya again. When I win, Victor corrected, the Shadow Witch becomes mine. Her bond with you will die with you. And I'll rebuild the Shadow Witch bloodline under my control. The vampire court assembled in an abandoned warehouse, neutral ground for a death match. Maya stood with James and the few allies they'd gathered, watching as Lucien and Victor faced each other in the center of a circle drawn in ash and blood. This is suicide, James whispered. Victor is 2,000 years old. Lucien can't beat him. He has to, Maya said, gripping the bond between them like a lifeline. Because if he doesn't, I'm Victor's prisoner for eternity. The fight began with devastating speed. Victor moved like violence made flesh, every strike calculated to kill. Lucien fought with 800 years of skill and desperation, but it was clear within minutes that he was outmatched. Victor's shadows were darker, stronger, more vicious than anything Maya had seen. They attacked Lucien from all sides, tearing through his defenses, shredding his flesh faster than vampire healing could compensate. He's losing, Elena said from where she watched from the sidelines. Despite everything, she'd come to witness the fight. Victor's going to kill him. Through the bond, Maya felt Lucien's pain, his exhaustion, his fear, not for himself, but for her. Felt him preparing to die knowing it would free her from their bond, hoping she could somehow escape Victor afterward. No, Maya breathed. No, no, no. There's nothing you can do, James said gently. Shadow witches can command darkness, but you can't intervene in a formal vampire challenge. The rules are absolute. Screw the rules. Maya stepped forward, and Umbra responded to her determination. Stop. Her voice cracked through the warehouse like thunder. The shadows, both Lucien's and Victor's, froze instantly, responding to the command of a shadow witch. Victor stared at her in shock. Impossible. You can't control my shadows. I'm too old, too powerful. Apparently, I can. Maya walked into the circle, breaking every rule of vampire combat. Because shadow witches don't just command darkness. We are darkness. And every shadow in existence answers to us, regardless of who they're bound to. She stood between Victor and Lucien, feeling the power of her bloodline awakening fully for the first time. This was what the shadow witches had been, not just commanders of darkness, but its living embodiment. You want to claim me? Maya asked Victor. Fine. Let's see if you can. She reached for Victor's shadows, and they came to her willingly, abandoning their ancient master to coil around the witch who called them home. Victor's eyes widened in horror as his power drained, flowing into Maya through his own shadows. What are you doing? He gasped, falling to his knees. Taking your offer. You said you could give me immortality. So give it. Maya's hands glowed with shadow power, Umbra and Victor's darkness merging into something unprecedented. Give me your venom. Give me your power. Give me everything. Through the bond, she felt Lucien's panic. Maya, no. If you take his venom this way, it could kill you, or it could turn me. Either way, it ends here. Together or not at all, She didn't give Victor a choice. Using his own shadows, she forced him to bite her, forced his ancient venom into her bloodstream. The oldest vampire venom in the continent, mixing with shadow witch blood, catalyzed by living darkness. The pain was indescribable. Maya screamed as her body began to transform, vampire and witch magic warring inside her. Through the bond, Lucien felt every moment of her agony, his own screams echoing hers. It's killing her, Elena breathed. The transformation is tearing her apart. Then help her. James shouted. You're a vampire, you've been through the turning. Tell us what to do. But there was nothing to do. No way to stop a transformation once it began. Maya either survived and became something new, or she died and took Lucien with her through their bond. In desperation, Lucien reached through their connection, pouring his own power into her. Umbra responded, wrapping around Maya completely, trying to cushion the transformation with living darkness. And slowly, impossibly, it started to work. The vampire venom and witch magic stopped fighting. Instead, they began to merge, catalyzed by the shadows that were part of both. Maya's screams faded as her body accepted the change, rewriting itself into something that had never existed before. When Maya opened her eyes, they glowed with silver-black light, vampire and shadow which merged perfectly. Impossible, Victor whispered, staring at her with awe and terror. You're both. Fully vampire. Fully shadow witch. That shouldn't exist. Well, it does now. Maya stood, feeling power coursing through her that dwarfed anything she'd experienced as just a witch or just Lucien's bonded mate. She was hybrid, the first and only shadow vampire in existence. Victor tried to attack, but his shadows refused him. They belonged to Maya now, claimed by a being who was both their master and their kin. Your challenge is over, Maya said, her voice resonating with layered power. You wanted the Shadow Witch? Congratulations. You helped create something far more dangerous. Now leave Seattle, or I'll show you exactly what a shadow vampire can do to an ancient who thinks age equals invincibility. For the first time in 2,000 years, Victor ran. He fled the warehouse, abandoned his shadows, and disappeared into the night, a legend humbled by the impossible. As the court watched in stunned silence, Maya turned to Lucien. Through their bond, now stronger than ever, she felt his overwhelming relief mixed with concern. Are you? He started. I'm perfect. Maya pulled him close, and he could feel it. She was still herself, still Maya, but enhanced in ways they'd never dreamed possible. I'm vampire. I'm witch. I'm yours. Forever, just like you wanted. You could have died, Lucien said roughly. You risked everything. So did you when you bonded with me. Maya kissed him, and he tasted the difference, vampire now, but still the woman he loved. We're both idiots who risk everything for each other. Seems fair. What happens now? Elena asked from the sidelines, her voice surprisingly respectful. She's unprecedented. The Vampire Council will. The Vampire Council will accept her or answer to me, Mother Celeste said, stepping forward from where she'd been observing. A shadow vampire hybrid. The first in history. Maya Reeves, you've just rewritten supernatural law. The question is, what will you do with that power? Maya looked at the assembled vampires, at James representing the witch community, at Lucien standing beside her, and at Umbra coiled around them both like a living promise. I'm going to do what I've always done, she said firmly. Save lives. Protect people. And love the vampire who wasn't afraid to claim me. She smiled at Lucien. Though I suppose now I get to bite him back. Despite the tension, Lucien laughed, that rusty, beautiful sound she'd come to love. You're welcome to try, Dr. Reeves. Though I warn you, I'm very experienced at this. Then you can teach me. Maya's fangs extended for the first time, and she felt the hunger that came with vampire nature. But unlike new vampires who lost control, her shadow which discipline kept it perfectly balanced. Starting now. She bit him, completing a circle that had started with his bite weeks ago. Two vampires, bonded not by tradition but by choice. Two beings who'd risked everything for impossible love and somehow made it possible. As the court began to disperse, as Elena left with a final nod of respect, as James promised to document this unprecedented transformation for the supernatural archives, Lucien and Maya stood together in the center of the empty warehouse. "I love you," Lucien said. "My impossible shadow vampire who told me she wasn't afraid of my bite." "I love you too," Maya replied. "My ancient vampire who lost control because of one reckless mortal. Not mortal anymore. No. But still reckless." Maya grinned, fangs and all. "And still not afraid of your bite. Though now I have my own bite to worry you with." "I'm terrified," Lucien said, pulling her closer. "Absolutely terrified." But through their bond, Maya felt his joy, his relief, his absolute certainty that risking everything had been worth it. They had eternity now, to explore her new powers, to navigate vampire politics together, to build a life that was neither purely vampire nor purely witch, but something uniquely theirs. The shadows went wild around them in celebration, and for once, Lucien didn't try to control them. He let them express the joy he felt, let them dance and swirl and claim Maya as thoroughly as he had. Because she wasn't afraid of his bite. She never had been. And now, she had her own bite to match his. Like if this ending was everything. And subscribe for more supernatural romance, because Maya and Lucien just rewrote the rules, created a new species, and proved that the most dangerous thing in the supernatural world isn't fangs or magic, it's fearless love. Fire 2 Hearts Man Vampire.